The hard truth? Your calves aren't small because of genetics. It's actually because you're training them wrong. Enough blaming genetics. The truth is that most people do everything wrong, thinking they're right and not getting consistent results. And today, I'm going to show you exactly what changes the game. In this super informative video, I'm going to break down all the details about calf training and the main tricks to make them look impressive. Today, you're going to find out why the calves are one of the most stubborn muscles in the body and what most people are doing wrong when training them. Many people say that they don't grow at all, but I'm going to show you that with the right training and the right intensity, they do grow. Let's get straight to the point with a clear explanation based on science and strategies that really work. If you've ever wondered why your calf isn't growing, this video is exactly what you're looking for and you need to watch it all the way through. Starting with the anatomy of the calf. For anyone to improve their training, they should start by understanding the anatomy of each muscle, origin, insertion, how many heads it has, and the function of each head. The calf, in anatomy, is called the triceps surae and is made up of two muscles, the gastrocnemius and the soleus. The gastrocnemius has two heads, medial and lateral. It overlaps the soleus and gives that upside-down heart appearance when the calf contracts. The soleus, which is below, more internally, has a larger muscle volume, so if you want to gain volume in your calf, you need to train the soleus a lot. The bigger it gets, the more it will push the gastrocnemius, the bigger it will look like your calf is. The gastrocnemius originates in the heel, in the Achilles tendon, and inserts into the femur. In other words, it crosses two joints, the knee and the ankle, and is a bi-articulated muscle. Therefore, it has two functions, knee flexion and plantar flexion, the movement of pointing the foot downwards, as when we walk. It is also recruited in movements such as leg curls or squats, but on a smaller scale. The soleus muscle originates in the heel and inserts into the tibia and fibula, crossing only the ankle joint and also performing plantar flexion. The calf is well known for being stubborn, that is, difficult to develop. There are studies that suggest that androgen receptors, responsible for activating testosterone in the muscles, will slow down the amount as we move down the body. For example, the trapezius and organs have more of these receptors, which is why those who use steroids usually grow first in these areas. The calf, on the other hand, being in the lower part of the body, responds less to testosterone and growth stimulation. Furthermore, it is an oxidative muscle with a predominance of type 1 fibers, which are more resistant but less prone to hypertrophy. The calf is composed of 60 to 90% type 1 fibers. And this makes sense. It is a muscle in which you use the entire muscle with every step you take, so it becomes extremely resistant. And that is why you need to give it enough stimuli to develop. You may think that it is not necessary to work with high loads, since the calf is a muscle with a predominance of slow fibers, which respond better to high repetitions. This is true, but what is stopping you from using high loads and working them too? The calf does have a predominance of slow fibers, but it also has fast fibers. And we already have scientific support to state that hypertrophy occurs with both low and high loads, as long as you go to failure. Therefore, we will use low repetitions with high load and high repetitions with low load. This combination will enhance hypertrophy gains and activate both types of hypertrophy: myofibrillar, which we will stimulate with high load, and sarcoplasmic, which will be worked with higher repetitions. Whenever we talk about hypertrophy, both occur. We will work with different stimuli to optimize each one. The higher loads in the first exercises will serve to strongly activate the central nervous system and generate intense activation of the calf. Let's talk about training and how to apply this knowledge. But now, should I start or end my training with the calves? Honestly, if you really want to develop your calves, start your training with them, regardless of which muscle you're going to train that day. That way, you can give them your full attention, and consequently, they will develop faster. Most people go to the gym with a specific mission, training their chest or back, for example, and then want to leave. That's when the calves are often left for later or the next day and end up being forgotten. If this is your case, then it's best to start with the calves right away. The calves are a resistant muscle and require more intensity and volume than normal. One of the most important things to develop the calves is the frequency with which you train them. Since they recover very quickly, there's no problem in training them every day. Ideally, if you are just starting out, you should do it 3 times a week. As you progress and your muscles start to respond better, you can start training every day. Of course, if your muscles are very sore, you have to use common sense and assess the situation. Remember, there is no set recipe. What works for some people may not work for you. Regarding the types of exercises, don't invent new trends and focus on the basic exercises. 2 movements are enough: standing calf raises with your knees extended and seated calf raises with your knees flexed. Most gyms have a seated calf machine, so you won't need to improvise. For standing calf raises, you can use the Smith machine, your body weight, or a specific machine. When the knee is flexed, the gastrocnemius is shortened and goes into active insufficiency, which means it does not participate in the movement. Consequently, you activate the soleus more. This helps to give volume and lateralize the calf, that is, make it appear from the front. To focus on the gastrocnemius, the ideal is to do the calf raise with the legs extended. With these basic movements well executed, being done by stretching as much as possible at the beginning of the movement and contracting as much as possible at the end, some variations are interesting and can be added. For example, the unilateral standing calf raise, which does not require any machine, just a step. Support yourself somewhere for more stability and perform the movements until failure. This instability adds extra tension to the muscle. And with the muscle fatigued from the other exercises, the overload of body weight will already be enough to have a good workout. One of the biggest mistakes in calf training is using the elastic strength of the Achilles tendon. The person does not pause at the bottom of the movement, so most of the force comes from the tendon, not the muscle. And then there is no development. The movement is short, fast, and without amplitude. And it is exactly the opposite of what we need in this type of training to truly develop the body. The first thing you should do is pause for at least 1 second at the beginning of the movement. This prevents the tendon from stealing the contraction. And to maximize the contraction, shift your weight to your big toe during plantar flexion. You will feel it contract much more. And of course, maximum amplitude. Don't stop halfway. Do the complete movement, as if it were a ballerina's foot. Another interesting tip: do the concentric phase very explosively, simulating a push-off. Why is this? Because your calf is stronger at the beginning of the movement and loses strength at the end. By doing it explosively, you transfer all the force to the peak of the contraction. This helps in maximum contraction at the end of the movement, extracting more from the muscle in the last repetitions. You must be wondering, what about the position of the feet? How should I leave them? This is something that many people like to adjust, turning them inward or outward, believing that this way it is possible to isolate one of the heads of the calf. Many do the movement with their feet turned outward, trying to isolate the medial head and give a more lateralized appearance, which can also favor viewing from the front. This strategy, visually, even seems interesting. The evidence available in the scientific literature is too weak to support the idea that changing the position of the feet interferes with the hypertrophy of the medial or lateral head of the calf. And this makes sense. When you perform this external rotation of the feet, you are, in fact, promoting an external rotation of the hip. The calf, in turn, does not cross any hip joint. Therefore, it makes no sense to believe that foot rotation can interfere with calf contraction. Furthermore, the calf's main function is not to perform external rotation of the foot. Therefore, this logic does not hold up. Finally, train your calves as if you were training any other muscle. When doing a series of bicep curls, for example, don't you go to failure, or close to it. It's the same with your calves. If you want to make them bigger and stronger, you need to get the most out of them during your workouts. And to do that, you need to go to your limit. If you liked these tips and information, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and activate the notification bell. This helps the channel grow and recommend this information to more people. Also, send this video to that friend of yours who has small calves and doesn't know what to do to develop them. See you in the next video.